It's coming up on Shin Godzilla's 9th anniversary, and with a theatrical re-release and a potential sequel on the way, today we're going to talk about the future of this terrifying monstrosity. Recently, in an earnings call with Bloomberg, announcements were made regarding the -1 sequel, a new Southeast Asian Godzilla film, and the bombshell, a sequel to Shin Godzilla may be in the works. Which begs the question, what new forms will this cosmic horror take? We saw it start its life as a tadpole-like creature, before evolving legs and charging through the city, before becoming bipedal, and finally, the Daionkeitai, the biggest form of them all, capable of firing superheated atomic rays from various points of his body. The ultimate god of destruction. Though at the end of the film, we witness a fifth form, where Godzilla was trying to evolve into the ultimate predator, the only thing capable of taking it down: humanity. But what does this mean for the future of the series? Where could they take Shin Goji next? Well, today we're going to find out by taking a look at the previous concepts and theorizing the horrifying places it could go in the future. I'm Alistair, and welcome to DangerVille. Don't forget to subscribe and do all that good stuff. If not for me, then do it for Godzilla. Yes, even the 70% of you that aren't subbed, let's close that gap. So let's start off by looking at the concepts, because they present some pretty bizarre ideas on what the King of the Monsters should be. Some of the original concept art for Shin Godzilla shows a very different creature than the one we saw on screen. One much closer to the classic Godzilla we know and love. Take, for instance, an early design for the second form. Rather than this grotesque deep-sea fish with bulging eyes that emerged from Tokyo Bay, this version bears a striking resemblance to the 1954 original. He retains that rough, scarred skin, his iconic dorsal plates, and even the flaps of skin on his arm that recall the limitations of that original Godzilla suit. It's clear that at one point, the design team toyed with the idea of staying true to the legacy Godzilla before diving into more surreal and horrifying territory. Some of this early art even draws from the unused concepts dating back to the original. One notable example is a fourth form inspired by a mushroom cloud, evoking the nuclear imagery that has always been at Godzilla's core. You might even recognize this design from that recent analog horror video that brought it back into the spotlight. As the designs progressed, things got stranger and far more terrifying. In some unused art, we see Godzilla gaining the ability to self-divide. A second head begins to sprout from the back of his neck, before eventually splitting off entirely, creating another independent version of himself. This was part of the plan to show Godzilla becoming conscious at the cellular level, every part of his body alive, aware, and capable of regeneration and reproduction. This concept is even hinted at in the film when a chunk of Godzilla's flesh falls off and its beady round eyes stare back at the soldiers below. It's a grotesque reminder that every piece of Godzilla is still Godzilla. This was never meant to be a creature with a final form. He would continue to mutate, evolve, and adapt forever. And with a monster like this, the sky is truly the limit. Other pieces of pre-visualization explores entirely different modes of movement. One version of Godzilla was designed to slither like a serpent, gliding through the city with terrifying speed and fluidity. Another shows him developing flight capabilities, utilizing his atomic breath as a jet propulsion system to blast himself through the air. There's also circulating artwork of Godzilla with massive membranous wings, though it's now widely believed to be fan art. Still, given the evolutionary trajectory explored in Shin Godzilla, such a form wouldn't be far-fetched. It might even be inevitable. But perhaps the most disturbing evolution, however, is the emergence of Godzilla's human form. In the final moments of the film, we catch a brief, haunting glimpse of skeletal humanoid figures erupting from the tip of Godzilla's tail. They're never actually explained in the film, but the concept art fills the gaps. These beings, spawned from Godzilla himself, would have been conscious, self-aware entities, potentially numbering in the hundreds. Would they be mindless beasts, miniature kaiju wreaking havoc on humanity, shooting condensed atomic rays and devouring the people below, or something more haunting on a deeper level? Messengers of a higher power. In several concept pieces, the tail beings are depicted with a near religious reverence. clad in crystallized wing structures resembling that of angels. They descend from above, not just as weapons, but as prophets, born in his image. They worship Godzilla as a god. And why wouldn't they? He created them. In this version of events, they may not destroy, but they convert, spread his message, and demand submission. This ties back into a subtle but chilling detail in the film, where citizens already refer to Godzilla as God. These creatures may have been designed to spread that belief, to guide humans towards worship, and to free Godzilla from his frozen state, allowing him to cleanse the earth like a biblical flood sent by divine wrath. Godzilla, in his vision, becomes less of a monster and more a force of cosmic judgment. As Godzilla continues to evolve, he may eventually transcend the need for traditional organs, with his energy functioning entirely at a cellular or even subcellular level. This could give rise to increasingly surreal and abstract forms. Concept art hints at crystalline structures and molten lava-like bodies, suggesting a future where Godzilla sheds his familiar physicality altogether, fusing with the very elements of the Earth. In this surreal state, Godzilla might not even be recognizable as a creature. He could become a living force of nature, part of the planet itself, a being of fire, stone, and energy. He could also multiply, producing airborne variants that sprout wings and fly across oceans, spreading his mutation beyond Japan into a global event. No longer frozen by the blood coagulant that once stopped him, this new Godzilla would be immune, faster, smarter, and virtually unstoppable. The most chilling part of Shin Godzilla's design philosophy is that there is no final form. Each evolution is just a stepping stone forward towards something more alien, abstract, and more terrifying. We messed with forces we barely understood, awakening the limitless and unpredictable potential of radiation, and in doing so, gave birth to something that will never stop evolving beyond us. In the sequel, Godzilla might not just be a creature of destruction, but may transform into a new stage of life itself, something that forces humanity to reckon with its own place in the food chain. Perhaps the next form won't walk, fly, or roar, but instead communicate through bioelectric signals, infecting networks, merging the digital and biological into a new global consciousness, becoming something new entirely. Will he become a virus, multiple world-ending monsters, a god? The terrifying truth is, we don't know. And that's exactly what makes this version of Godzilla so unique. Unlike traditional versions, Shin Godzilla isn't defined by his size or power. He's defined by his potential, limitless, unpredictable, unstoppable. The direction Shin Godzilla was heading paints a terrifying picture of limitless evolution. Hideaki Anno's version was not just a kaiju, it was a god incarnate, a creature that adapts, divides, spreads, and never truly dies. From early homages to the 1954 original to winged angels of a nuclear apocalypse, the concept art shows a being in a constant state of change, forever growing, forever evolving. In the world of Shin Godzilla, the monster rests, his body frozen, just waiting to be released. And when he wakes, the world may not be ready for what comes next. But how do you think Shin Godzilla should evolve in the sequel? Let us know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe and stomp the notification button to become a resident of DangerVille today. And give this video a big Kong-sized thumbs up. I've been Alistair, and we'll see you residents in the next one.